No.
Go ahead, please.
Sorry, what did you say?
I said, go ahead, please. You can go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're
So,
welcome.
Dr. Halima Kure is a lecturer in cybersecurity in the School of Engineering and Computing at the University of Central Lancashire. She obtained a PhD in cybersecurity from the University of East London. She has a BSc in software engineering and MSc in information security and computer forensics from the University of East London in the UK as well. Our areas of expertise encompass a wide range of topics, including artificial intelligence, enabled cybersecurity, cyber resilience, cyber threat intelligence, security and risk management, cyber physical systems, threat modeling, attack vectors, and cloud security management. She possesses extensive knowledge of prominent cybersecurity frameworks and standards, such as ISO 2701 and NIST CSF. She actively engages in research and development initiatives focused on enhancing the security, privacy, and resilience of systems and applications across diverse domains. Our research extends to critical information infrastructure, cyber physical systems, mobile application, cloud computing, and medical and healthcare systems, mashallah. So without wasting much time, yeah, we're right about perfect time to start. So Dr. Alima, you have the floor. You have 30 minutes, maximum 40 minutes, just in case you're not able to round up on time. Bismillah.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Salam alaikum once again. I joined early,
Alaikum.
so I had to stop a little bit. Thank you so much for the introduction. Sometimes I feel like, is that me? It doesn't sound like it's me. All right. I'll share my screen and quickly go through some basic things. Is everyone able to see my screen? Can you all see my screen?
Yes, I can from my phone.
Yes, we can.
Yes.
All right, great.
Yes.
So today's topic is talking about data security and best practices. So when I saw the topic, I'm like, this is coming from, I'm sure this is coming from someone who, it's an interesting theme, but I feel like it's kind of broad in a way, but I just try to kind of put things together in the security aspect of it, because I'm not expecting to talk about data collection processes, how you're meant to collect data for researchers, and what you need to do and what you don't need to do. I think that's more like most organizations, most schools have like this ethical consideration and ethical processes you need to follow for you to be able to gather data if you want to do surveys, interviews, just dealing with people in general. So that's something that every organization deals with. So I'll be talking about more of the cybersecurity aspect of how to protect your data from unauthorized access. So today's lecture outline, we're going to be discussing protecting data from unauthorized access. And then the second part, I'm going to be doing a little bit talking about data protection terms and principles. That's the different laws and regulations guiding how data is being processed, or how what we need to do to if we're dealing with sensitive information and people's sensitive data. So the introduction has been done already about who I am and my education and employment. Currently, I'm a lecturer at the University of Central Lancashire, University of Central Lancashire, not East London. I think I'm used to East London, and my research interest, all that has been said. So I'll just move straight. So when we're talking about cyberspace, we're talking about an environment where computer transactions take place. So we're talking about computer to computer activities. You pick up your phone, you send an email, and then it's been delivered to wherever it is you're sending that message to, anywhere in the world. So now looking at that activity, the transaction that takes place between computers, is something that we need to focus on, how important it is for that information to pass through successfully without unauthorized interception of that data, and then how important it is for your data to be securely saved or being accessed by unauthorized individuals. So it's important that any data you have, that data is safe and it's secure at all times. So now we have the cyberspace includes devices. We're talking about hardware. In this case, we're talking about your computers, your smartphones, your modems, the routers, the servers, even your smartwatches. All these are different devices that you connect to the internet. What is the network? We're talking about the internet, the intranet, your virtual private network, LAN, local area network. You connect to the internet through different ways. So you're able to contact people, send emails, send messages, make phone calls, and these are different ways that data is actually being gathered. So for example, you have the CCTV, it gathers data of people coming in and out and details of things like that. So there are different ways that data can be gathered. Now we have the software. This is like the operating system that allows you to actually type on your computer. The operating system allows you to communicate with the hardware and the software of your computer. So that's also an important thing. And it could be like office productivity software, such as the Microsoft Office that has the Excel, your Microsoft Word, and things like that. So you can see all these things come together to make up the cyberspace. Now we have, what haven't I said? Processes. Processes could be even authentication process, like you logging in and then it accepts your username and password by authenticating that this person is actually the owner of this account. So this whole processes are all happening in the cyberspace. And now you can imagine that everything, once you connect to the internet, everything is, you're kind of I won't say vulnerable, but all your details are out there. Everything is out there once you connect to the internet. So understanding security. Let's start with understanding security. Here I have a video, but I will not play the video now. That's because I have 30 minutes. So basically this video is the kids, like little kids, their understanding of what security is. And you hear some of them saying security is to protect my toys and put them in the cupboard. Some will say security is not going on the road without an elderly person taking me there to cross the road and things like that. So that's their understanding of security. And if you should put that into the context of what we're talking about today, then you realize that security is really, really important, because it means to be safe from, to be free from danger, any form of danger. So if, for example, there is an unauthorized access to your devices, for example, now you are not safe. You are not safe. So you're not free from danger in that case. It means that anything can happen. Even if it's picking your phone, someone should pick your phone and have access to your phone and everything in your phone, then it means you're not safe anymore. You're not free from danger. So security means to be completely free from danger. And it's very difficult and challenging to actually achieve that. So let's see. When we talk about to be free from danger, we have to talk about assets. What is asset? Asset is something that has a value for you. Anything that has value. So every organization you see, they have their assets. Even in your homes, there are things that you call an asset. You could have goals, you could have, even your kids, like people are assets. We human beings were assets to certain organizations. They cannot do without us. They need us to do certain things. So we are all assets. So it depends on what the organization is calling an asset. So an asset is something that has value. When there is an attack, for example, if there is a cyber attack, then that leads to that organization being at risk. Like it completely negatively impacts the organization. So it has a negative impact on the organization when that asset is being brought down as a result of a cyber attack. So what are assets? We have customer information, financial records. So for the banking sector, they'll tell you, oh, my customer information, my financial records, all these are assets to us. We cannot lose them. We need them. We need to protect them. So that goes even to educational sector, student information, lecturer information. Then when you go to the hospital, the healthcare sector, we have records of patients, records of medical records, and this has assets to the organization. So every organization would tell you that we know what is important to us, what is an asset to us, and we need to protect those assets. So now let's have a look. Security itself is a process. It's a complete process that does not stop. It goes round and round and comes back. So first of all, it's by identifying threats. So what is threat? So when you're talking about threat is something that could have a malicious intent or maybe an unintentional intent. But then if that threat should be successful, then it's going to affect the assets of that organization. So for example, a threat could be a thief coming into your house to rob you. That's a threat. And then he robs you and picks up your money, for example, which is an asset to you. Now that the risk is that it's going to financially, you're going to have be experiencing financial loss. So that's how the process works. So it's like a round process. So we need to identify what threats are, and then we're able to identify what policies we need. So when we talk about policies, every organization has a policy. So even in your homes, you have policy. We keep policy and say, oh, our kids, for example, don't come home late. Once it's 10 o'clock, you have to be home, for example. So that's a policy. Now, how do you implement that policy on your kids? By enforcing the mechanism. So what mechanism? Maybe you shut the door and then he's unable to come in once it's 10. Then tomorrow he'll come back early because he knows when I get home after 10, the door is going to be locked. So now you need to implement the right policies. If, for example, weak passwords, which are always, we have lots of successful cyber attacks where is as a result of weak passwords. So if, for example, you decide to pick in organization, we say, okay, for the password policy, that you shouldn't reuse your passwords. We shouldn't have passwords that are short passwords. The password has to be a combination of uppercase, lowercase, characters, special characters, and things like that. So that's a policy. How do they enforce that policy? By adding the security mechanisms. How do they do that? So now when you try to log in and you register, for example, using short password, it will not accept it. It will enforce you to add strong password. So that's a security mechanism that is very important for every organization to implement. Then we have incidents. Things will always happen. Things will go wrong all the time. So when you have an incident, maybe as a result of cyber attack, it could be as a result of an insider, a disgruntled employee who thinks that, oh, I'm not happy, I should let me misuse my privileges and do things that he's not supposed to do, for example. So that incident has happened. Then you need to go back to auditing. So audit, keeping a record of everything that has happened. Like I mentioned, the CCTV. So for example, if something has happened in your home, someone breaks into the home and takes something, you could use your CCTV as an auditing tool to go back to check things and be able to track what the problem is. Where do I need to start from? Where do I start checking from? What do I need to do next? I have seen this happen. He came in around this time, and things like that. So audit helps us to kind of be on track. So it goes back to that. It's a cycle. It's a process. It doesn't stop. So we have threats versus vulnerabilities. So I'm trying to talk about the basic components of security itself in general. So when you hear the term threat and then you hear the term vulnerabilities, you're thinking, what are this? What do they mean by vulnerability in security terms? So vulnerability is a weakness in the system. Like I always say to people, we all have our weaknesses. For me, I joke about loving food. So if, for example, I say, oh, Halima, I want to lose weight, but then when I see a cupcake, I lose it and then I grab that cupcake. So that's my vulnerability in a way. So we all have our vulnerability. So what these threat actors do is they try to exploit those vulnerabilities. So they try to see what are the weaknesses in the systems, what are the weaknesses in the software, what are the weaknesses in the network of that organization, and then they exploit those weaknesses and then launch an attack on those because as a result of the weakness. So for example, like I use a house all the time. It could be that there is a ceiling that is left open, for example, or maybe the back window, you leave it open. That's a vulnerability that anyone can easily jump into the house and come in and then do whatever they need to do. So that applies to also software, hardware, and things like that. So let's look at typical cyber threats. When we're looking at typical cyber threats, we're looking at different, there are so many of them, but I'll be talking about these few ones. We have so many cyber threats. So let's pick the ransomware attack. When you hear the ransomware, so in this case, they're talking about malicious software that encrypts files. So I'll explain this in layman term. So for example, like I mentioned somewhere, in the northern part of Nigeria, we know that there are lots of kidnapping and things happening. So they take people and then they ask for ransom. They ask for something. In most cases, when you give the money, it's not like they're going to give you back that person. If you're lucky, they give you back that person. If you're not lucky, they kill the person and then still take the money. So that applies to computer systems as well. So with the ransomware, they kind of go through the network. If there is any vulnerability, they exploit it, and then they encrypt very important information or files that the organization need for them to be able to, carry out their day-to-day activities. So now they can't do anything because those files have been encrypted. It means they've been held hostage in a way, and then they're requesting for ransom. So I'll give an example with the NHS here in the UK. There was a ransomware attack on NHS. So they were requesting for big money. So people who had surgery, people who had like medical appointments could not see the GP. They couldn't attend to them. They couldn't do any surgeries or anything because they couldn't retrieve their patient records. So they had to everything was put on hold. They couldn't do anything. They had to stop every activity because there was an attack on them. So they held those information and were requesting for huge amount of money. So that's what they do with ransomware. With phishing attack, which happens on a daily, regular basis. I remember my mom saying, no, we got a message on WhatsApp and requesting for money. So I wasn't sure if that's my mom. And I think a lot of people have gone through this, having their WhatsApp been hacked. And you're the one who actually gave out your one-time password. In most cases, you give out this message, you give out what is very important, your password, for people to have access to your WhatsApp. So with the phishing attack, they deceive people into submitting their sensitive information. So people call you and talk, oh, I'm calling from your bank and we're asking for your password to do this and that. The banks always say, we're never going to call you to ask for all the sensitive information, but people still give out sensitive information. So that's phishing attack now. People deceiving you into submitting. It could be through SMS, it could be through phone calls, it could be through emails, and then people are able to actually deceive you into submitting your sensitive information. We're going to talk about denial of service attack. So denial of service is overloading a system or network to make it unavailable to users. In this case, what happens is once they launch an attack or try to push too many traffic into your network, then you're unable to actually, for example, you log into your computer and it's so slow. That's unavailability of the computer being available for you to actually use it at that time. So these are things that happens. There are different ways. We have insider threats. So this is another important, because most attack, like I say, happens as a result of a careless user or an insider. Like we say, insider threats are like more dangerous than any other threat. So now you have an insider, an employee who works with you, who has access to sensitive information, maybe even the admin who has access to all information, and then now he's not happy. And he's not even saying he's not happy. So he can use those sensitive information to actually do a lot. He could give it out to people, to third parties, or to all these hacking groups and tell them that this sensitive information, I'm giving it to you, so give me some money. And then you can contact the organization and say, oh, I have this sensitive information of yours, and if you want me to release it, then you need to give me this amount of money. So insider threats also are very important. They participate very well in any forms of attack. Then we have what we call types of vulnerabilities. Like I say, weaknesses in system. Vulnerability could be a weak password. So it's important. I observe that many people use the same password or they use just 6-character passwords because we're trying to rush and just quickly move on. So I've carried out a research on websites in Nigeria to see that how do they do with the password policy? Are they really implementing password policies? So I realized that they don't really implement password policy. So you log in, you register to a new website, for example, a new application, and you just register and log in with, you'll register with very short passwords, or you reuse the same password for every account you have. You use the same password. I'll show you something before the end of this class to see that it is so easy for you to be hacked when you use weak passwords. So it's important that we use long passwords, unpatched software and software flows. So for example, now you see that you get a message and to say that you need to update. A lot of people hate updating. So updates come as a result, as a patch. So maybe the software developers have identified weaknesses in those applications you're using, and they're telling you to update, because if you update, it means you're fixing those bugs that they have actually identified. So it's important for you to update on a regular basis so that you automatically address those weaknesses in those software or applications that you use. Yeah. Then we have privilege escalation. So for example, I decide to give a student staff privilege. What do you think that's incompetence in my own side? As an admin, I give student admin staff privilege. It means the student has access to other students' record and even his own record and other staff members' record. So he can easily do things, change his grades and do other things. So those are also vulnerabilities as a result of incompetence. So like I said, risk is as a result of vulnerability and threat put together that leads to risk. So that's it. Now, when we're talking about security, we're talking about the 3 security objectives. When you talk about security objectives, every organization, they aim to achieve these 3 important security objectives, which is the confidentiality of data, integrity of that data, and availability of the data. So we call them the CIA triad. Integrity of data, that is the information is correct and unaltered at all times. You can imagine logging into your details, your bank details, and every time you log in, it's altered. Your bank balance is changing or your name has changed. So, that disturbs you as a customer. You're not happy. You're not sure what's happening. So that's not what you want. So information has to be, the integrity of information has to be like intact. When you say people have integrity, they say something and they never change their mouth, that they never change their words. They maintain that thing they say. So that's integrity of data. It should be the way it should be. When you, as an authorized person, have access to it, you should go back there and have access to the same thing that you're expecting to have access to. Now, when we talk about confidentiality, in most cases, you know what confidentiality is. You talk to people in confidential. You want to, that's keeping information secret. So now it wouldn't be nice if I'm to send an email. I want to send an email to Zainab and then someone intercepts my email and reads the email or changes the email or even deletes the email and then she doesn't receive my email. So it's important to have integrity and confidentiality. So that's to the second CIA triad. Then we talk about the availability information. So like I said, with the NHS attack, the ransomware on NHS, so that made patients' record to be unavailable for them. So that could be as a result of even denial of service attack. So when there's a denial of service and you're unable to log in, or even when you log in, you're unable to retrieve your data, you're unable to retrieve all the information that you need to retrieve. You log into your student account or you log into your bank account and you're unable to see your bank balance, you're unable to do anything. That's making your data unavailable, and that's not what you want. So every organization aims to achieve this 3 CIA triad. It's very important for them. We have tools for protecting against unauthorized access. We have encryption. So now encryption for every organization, I'll tell you this, you're unable to, if without encryption, we will not be sending information in confidential, like where securely, we will not be having like secure communications. So encryption is what is making us have secure communications, and we're happy that we're having secure communication. People are unable to read information through the network. Even if they intercept it, they will not be able to have access to it because that information has been encrypted before it gets to the intended recipient of that information. So if it gets to you, you're able to read it. because that's where that information needs to get to. So that's encryption. You are changing the information. You are scrambling the information into something that is not readable until it gets to the intended recipient of that message. Then we have two-factor authentication. It is very important to have your two-factor authentication. Like I say, if you have a username and a weak password, for example, okay, that's fine. It's a weak password. It logs into the first phase of the security aspect. Then if you have the second phase, for example, it's requesting for a one-time password. Now you see that's a second security for you. So even if you have a weak password, but you have your two-factor authentication enabled, then that makes it even harder for any unauthorized person to have access to your information. Like I talked about, I mentioned regular software updates to patch security bugs. That's very important. Now, another important thing which I think most organizations don't deal with is extensive personnel training. This is important. You have to train your personnel. I give an example with myself all the time. When I joined Euclid, I got an email, and that email was requesting me to click a link that has to do with something. I knew I shouldn't have clicked that link, but out of curiosity, I wanted to see what that will be, and I actually clicked on the link. And then I got an email to say, Halima, come for training, because it was a test to see how many members of staff or students will fall victims to that. So it means we're not learning anything. We're not helping them to protect against any cyber attack. So me clicking on that link means I need to come for training. So I was asked to go for more training on avoiding. So I got another one this year, and I said, okay, I'm not going to fall a victim anymore. I know I shouldn't have done the first one anyway. So that extensive personal training is important for us to identify emails, attachments that are coming from malicious people. We need to identify certain things links that we shouldn't click on. We need to identify things these are things that during the training you let your staff understand. We have strict access control. So like I'll give an example of a building. So if you have a building within an organization, within within the university, for example, it's not every room that students should have access to. Even as a staff member, even if I'm able to have access to certain rooms, then there are other rooms like the server room, for example. I shouldn't have access to the server room because sensitive information is being kept and I have no business with that room. So you have to put strict access control. It's not everything as a student you should be able to view. If a lecturer has details of every student, then the student shouldn't have details of every other student. So this is strict access control that needs to be in place. Yeah. So I'll talk about backups. I'm skipping some because I know my time is running. I'll talk about maintenance, testing backup systems. So that's important. Even as a researcher now, you need to back up regularly. So that applies to organizations. Otherwise, when you lose your very important research project, you've done so much and you don't have a backup, please always try to back up in the cloud or the hard drive. You have so many ways to back up. Risk assessment is very, very important. Like every organization has risk management, risk assessment in general. I've talked about the user control. I've talked about encryption itself. Like I said, can you read this? So this is something that you cannot read here because that's been encrypted. That's a message that has been encrypted. So when it gets to the intended recipient, that person is able to read the message. Now we have man-in-the-middle attack. So that the essence of this cryptography, encryption in general, is because of this man-in-the-middle attack, the nosy man who wants to eavesdrop every message that is passing and then pick that message and do whatever. So for example, you go to a coffee shop and then there is an open Wi-Fi, which most Nigerians, I know most people, not even Nigerians, we have that attitude of connecting to open Wi-Fis. So we're risking a lot of things by connecting to open Wi-Fis. So let's take Bob, for example, or Alice goes to a coffee shop and she's sat there. There's an open Wi-Fi. She decides to connect to the open Wi-Fi and try to go to the web browser, try to send an email, for example. Now Bob is in the same coffee shop and connects to the same Wi-Fi and tries to intercept Alice's message. So now in this case, what he's going to do is he's going to pick up her username and password. Alice will successfully send that email without knowing that Bob has her credentials. Now he has her username and password. So we have to be careful where we try to kind of connect. secure communication is very important. We need to know where we're connecting to. So the solution, like I said, is encryption. So once you encrypt those messages, it's that's done. So authentication, we've talked about authentication, two-factor authentication, that's important to know. We've talked about backups and physical protection. So that's important also for us to talk about, to put locks on the doors. Those are really important, or even ID cards that gives you access into certain places. So we talked about patching and updates, risk management in general, like I said, risk management. So you're trying to identify the various risks in the organization, then you're trying to implement the appropriate controls so that it doesn't happen again. Then you go back around the clock to check, are there any vulnerabilities? Then you patch it. If there is any weakness in the system, you cover it. So that's risk management, trying to identify what the vulnerabilities are. Then you apply necessary controls. Like I said, I was a vulnerability to my organization because I joined them newly, and that message was sent, and I clicked on the message on the link that was sent, and then I was asked to come for training, and then they sent it again to see if I was going to fall a victim. So that's a continuous process, yeah, of managing risk. So a necessity of law in security. So you need to understand that we also, as individuals, we have to be careful the kind of information we get. So you're not just gathering people's sensitive data without understanding that it's important to also safeguard those information. It's important that you what you do with those people's data. You don't just go for surveys or interview people and gather data, and then you have to be sure what to do with those data, because those people need to understand transparency. They need to trust that their data is going to be safe with you. So there are also laws that guide us into handling data and our behavior also towards those data. So you cannot gather data and decide not to do something else with it or give it out. You're not allowed to do that as well. So general, we have the GDPR, which is here for the UK, that for Data Protection Act here in the UK, that actually protects individuals' privacy. So if organizations should let let's say there is a data breach, there is an attack, and then sensitive information is being taken from that organization, you also can, file a complaint against that organization to say, hey, my data is out there. I don't know what people can do with this data. So please, I'm not comfortable. So we also have a right towards them, and they also have a right towards us if, for example, you're picking individual information or data. We have other laws, like for example, like I say, everything is been guided towards laws, how you handle people's data. Like this, the US Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act also defines requirement for healthcare organizations for maintaining security and privacy of patient data. So you can see even the aspect of patient data, there is a law, that an act actually that has been brought out to protect. I think that's something we're actually lacking in Nigeria. I think there's a recent data protection act from, is a NITDA, I think, that is in place at the moment to protect people's data, because I have an understanding of this loan apps. People actually use these loan apps and they don't even understand that they're actually giving people access to their data. So this loan app, you download the loan app, you grant them permissions to have access to use your names, your photos, your contacts. And then when people don't pay, you see them sending messages to people's contacts to say, oh, this person has this, that has that. So that's a breach of people's privacy as well. Then we have even your card, payment card. There's a standard for it to secure processing of consumer credit card information. So those are all, every aspect of how you deal with data has its laws that guides them on how to not misuse. So we have the Computer Misuse Act. Not because you have access to the internet, you have access to the computers, and then you're able to just pick things and randomly do things. So that's not allowed. That's all. Any questions? Thank you.
Jazakallah khairan. That was a very, very detailed lecture. And I actually like the way you were able to relate it to like security in terms of physical properties or anything. It was then relatable to cybersecurity, which is more intangible. So I really appreciate the delivery of that lecture. And I'm sure there'll be a lot of questions. So if you have any questions, please, participants, kindly raise your hands so we can unmute you and then you ask your questions. If you have any questions, because yeah, any questions, please raise your hand so the host can unmute you and then you go ahead with your question. So we have Olanrewaju Fajimi.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Thanks for the presentation, Sister Halima. So my question is, there is this app, I don't know if you are familiar with this app. It's a meeting app, Discord.
Discord, yeah.
So there was a competition I went for, was it last year or maybe late 2021?
Okay.
So I discovered that I was doing some things on my phone.
Yeah.
So the organizer of the program were able to track everything, our activities on our phone.
Yeah.
It's more like a spying app.
Yeah.
So in that instance, what can someone do? Imagine on your phone in your privacy, somebody is telling you what you were doing at this time because I was using that app. What can you say about that? Like now is again it's something that we don't know. Like most people, even me, I didn't even know as an IT guy. So how can you advise on that kind of situation?
Okay, so that's an app, right? I think for that you have to kind of adjust the app permission. Most likely you're giving this app a lot of permissions that you shouldn't be given. So you have to review, like limit the app permissions by granting them access only to when necessary. So if you go to your phones, sometimes when you're trying to download an app, it tells you to grant permission, to grant access. So you're granting access to your location, you're granting access to your movement, everything that is on that app. So automatically people just check all those settings without even realizing that they're actually granting permissions to these people. So they will not tell you that these are the permissions on that app. So you have to kind of adjust the app permissions to review it, to limit it to what the only what you want them to have access to. So in that case, it's basically the app settings, I will say, for that app. So you kind of limit them by granting them access to just what you want them to have access to. Because
also please before you okay.
Because it doesn't stop. It doesn't stop, to be honest. They never tell you. And in most cases, like when you're downloading this app, we have all this agreement that is so long. People don't really read those agreements. You just click on that agreement because you just want to download the app. So now you're agreeing to a lot of things. So you cannot even actually say they've done anything wrong because you've agreed to do those things. You've agreed to give them those permissions. So it's important that you limit access to what they have access to.
Yeah, thanks for that. I know that I can do that on the phone, but on the PC, because some of my colleagues also face the same issue, but those that install it on their PC as well, how do you stop permission on a laptop or something on your personal computer?
With the personal computers, to be honest, I also myself hardly use apps on my computer because I use them mostly on my phone. But I think it should be the same thing. If you have an account and you have the app on your phone, you have the app on your PC, you're logging in with the same username and password. So you can do the settings on your phone and then check and see if that I'm sure it should apply to what you have on your PC as well. So if, for example, you have your WhatsApp on your phone, you have your WhatsApp desktop. So every permissions you set on this WhatsApp is very likely to apply to the one on the desktop, except for very few in that case.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, thank you very much.
Assalamu alaikum, Sister Halima.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Thank you very much for that brilliant presentation.
You're welcome.
This is my own question.
Go
How
ahead.
can somebody like me
Yeah.
that my WhatsApp account has been hacked
Mm.
get as in claim my as in I don't know how I can be able to claim my WhatsApp account back. It has been hacked since about 2 weeks ago now by a scammer.
Mm.
He tried to brainwash me. I was there is this Muslim forum that I joined on WhatsApp.
Yeah.
So the scammer just called me that it was from that Muslim forum
Mm-hmm.
that there's going to be a meeting after Ishai, that
Uh-huh.
there is a code that has been sent to my box,
Okay.
that six-digit code, that I
Yes.
should please call it for him,
Yeah.
that are using it to make a plan for me. He's just trying to brainwash me, and
Yeah.
I fall to the trap.
Okay.
So I called the code for him.
Yeah.
So I now noticed that since then I cannot be able um to activate my to have access to my WhatsApp.
Mm.
Whenever I am trying to log in, it will not allow me to log in. So I now declare that the hacker has already went to go and like register my account, my WhatsApp
Yeah.
with two-face
Factor
um
authentication, right?
so yes,
Okay.
because me, I did not register two-factor
I see.
verification.
I see.
So since then, I have not been able to access my WhatsApp account.
Okay. So it's good that you have you have your own share of how the hackers work. You see, that's a phishing attack they did with you. They convinced you and you
Yes,
submitted a one-time password. So
yes,
so for that, I'll ask you to, if you have WhatsApp on your phone, you could go to the settings
oh,
um and log out from all the devices. So if you have a laptop, it will be easier to have your desktop WhatsApp web, and you go to the settings, you log out from all devices. Now that
yeah,
my only worry is this guy has enabled the two-factor verification already, which
yeah,
that's something you should have done earlier. But we could
yeah.
actually, what we could do is to contact WhatsApp support and report the issue to WhatsApp support through the app. So you could
I've
provide,
done that. I've
have,
done that.
yeah,
Yes, in fact, immediately he hacked my account.
yeah,
He now sent a message to all my contacts
contact, yeah,
that
requesting
he
for
should send
money,
100,000 naira to a particular account,
yeah,
that I am going to pay it back, as in the following morning. You know that they have hacked my account, so they are now like sending the message as if I was the one
yes, yes,
sending the message to all my contacts,
yeah,
that they should like send 100,000 to a particular account there. So
mm,
people now, my friends and family now started calling me that
yes,
what is happening. That's when I told them that I was brainwashed, that it is not me, that
mm,
they are scammers, they are hackers, they have hacked my account.
okay.
Things
Have,
like that.
have
So
you tried to regain access to your WhatsApp account? Like, did you try to log in with your phone number? Like, uninstall the app completely. Try to install it back.
I I deleted the app on my phone. Then I now go to Play Store and restore
Reinstall
another
it.
new one. So
Okay.
whenever I am trying to log in,
Mm,
so they will tell me that they have already sent me
yeah.
6-digit code that
Mm,
will allow me to get access to my account. That I should go and check my boss, my message box.
okay.
So whenever I get there, I didn't find any message. So all the message is going to the hackers.
It's going to the hacker
They are
side.
the one receiving.
Okay.
Yes.
Has it
So
been
I'm not
30 days? Has it been 30 days
no ma.
already?
Let's say
Exactly.
2 weeks, 2 weeks and some days now.
Okay, so you have like 30 days to recover your account if you're still able, like you have 30 days to recover that. So what we could do is, because you've tried all different methods already, I'm thinking I might
Yes.
share later in the group details of other means, because everything I have said you have actually tried. Another thing we could think about is to contact your service providers if you're using MTN or
Yes, yes,
have
I
you done
do.
that?
Immediately I called MTN to like report to them. So MTN told me that they don't have anything to do, that I should report to WhatsApp.
Yeah, okay. Have you done
WhatsApp
that?
support team. And I told them I have done that.
What
In
was
fact, I
the
sent them mail. So they are now telling me that maybe I should do a video call and send it to them, or I should screenshot. So I did not understand what they are trying to say. So some people were even advising me that what I can also do
yeah.
was that maybe I should tell like about 10 or 15 people to report me on WhatsApp so that they can block my line. That if they block my line on WhatsApp, definitely those hackers will be blocked. So now I was now thinking that is that a good idea?
Yeah, so
But
if
for
emo-
reporting you, is that a good is that a good
solution, right?
solution? Hope it will not affect me.
No. I don't think so. I've not been in that situation. However, if you report an account, the likely possibility is that that account is going to be blocked. So, but my worry is I'm not sure if it's going to be permanently blocked or it's going to be temporarily blocked.
Blocked.
So, but the right thing is if that happens, if it's been reported by several people to say this is account has been hacked, the right thing for them is to actually block both of you and then send a one-time password to your phone number. So now you have access to the one-time password and then you're able to log back in, which is that's the right thing to do. Normally when you install new WhatsApp anyway, you get a one-time
Yes,
password
ma'am.
to
Yes,
your
ma'am.
phone. Yeah, so that's the right thing. I think that will happen. I think that's what is going to likely happen. They'll send you a one-time password to your phone and then you're able to log in successfully back because you have the phone number with you. They don't
Yeah,
have that.
exactly.
So
So my
usually,
my fear now was that I am scared so that they will not go and use my account for a criminal activity out there, because it was my details that was there.
yeah, so the only thing they can do at the moment is to send your contacts the messages requesting for money. And if you have someone in the family, for example, that maybe shares the same contact or friends, just ask them to broadcast it for now to say that your account has been hacked, so nobody should send any money. And then while we try to
Sent
resolve.
message to all my contacts. I've sent a text message to them.
Okay.
I sent message to them through text that my account has been blocked. They should be conscious of any dubious message.
Okay. So they'll
My
if you
account has been.
so what do you have now? The WhatsApp, is it logged in or what's the interface you're getting? Are you getting username and password to log in or what is it asking you? Because I need you to log out from all devices. All devices. So
Okay, when I log in, it will tell me to enter my phone
enter
number or my email. So I log in with my phone number. It will now tell me that a message has been sent to my box, my
your
message box, that I should go and check it, 6 digits
okay.
code.
Have you tried checking your spam messages? Because sometimes it could be in your spam messages. Maybe
I do, I
it,
do on
okay, it's
my
not in
on
your
my
inbox.
box. Yes.
Okay. All right. So
Because I was even begging them maybe that they should send the 6 digit code to my email so that I can be able to view it from my email. But WhatsApp said that they cannot do that. That they have to send it to somebody message box so that they will be sure that that person is the owner of that phone number.
yeah, okay. But why I didn't but you have the phone number you're trying to log into, you have access to that phone number, don't you?
Yeah, this is the phone number that I'm using right now.
Okay.
I'm still using it.
The messages should
It-
come to that phone number and not any other phone number. That's the right thing that should
Yeah.
happen.
So,
No,
and
sorry, if I can say a few things. Dr. Halima, thank you for the effort. I think what has happened is those guys have changed the mobile number at, associated with the account. So what you were advised to do, madam, is what you need to do, ma. Tell a
okay.
few people to send message that account, they should report it. They should block and report. And once that is done, WhatsApp will block it. Then you can then start. That number that is blocked is the new number the hackers had used. Okay. So once that account is blocked, you will delete your account and reinstall again, and your original number can then be associated with your account again. But they need to block that second number before your old number can be functional.
Okay.
All
Okay.
right.
Okay.
Thank you very much
Thank you very
for
much for that
intervening. And thank you.
solution.
Yes, you're welcome.
We work towards it. Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Halima, for your patience in responding to that. We're really grateful. So we've actually spent much time on the questions. I'll just like to give a closing remark. I'd like you to give a closing remark, and it's just based on an observation. Like I said, the delivery of the lecture was well encompassing and all of that, but I just wanted you to please link it a bit towards academic research, because it feels like this is just what everybody is going through. But then, when it comes to academic research, is it the same way you're ensuring you're protecting data you collect from people you want to, just people you see randomly on the street? Or the cybersecurity also goes to the point of you've uploaded an article. How do you ensure that nobody is able to go there and modify it or copy without your permission and all of that? I just want you to please link it in a few minutes and then we can round up.
Okay. So when it comes to research, I'll give an example with my own process when I was doing my own research. You go to your university, you get the ethical approval to actually have access to people's sensitive information. For example, you want to interview people, you go through the right process of doing that. So first of all, from collecting the data itself, you're going through the right process of ethical approval from your university. So if you're meeting these people, you have your ethical approval form, you're showing them that this is I'm doing this for this research, this is what I want to do with your data, this is what I want to do with your data. So when you gather that data, it is important that you actually do exactly what you said you're going to do with that data. You're not going to do any other thing with the data. So you're going to do it for the purpose of that particular research that you've collected the data for. So when it comes to protecting the data or protecting data in general, it's maybe your data or the data you've collected for the purpose of research, or even if you're okay, I'll come back to that. Then you have to kind of it applies the same way. You have to protect the data through different ways of protecting information, protecting data, like I have mentioned again. So for example, even if it comes to you displaying your maybe something very sensitive, something very important on the screen, and you walk away. For example, you walk away to outside just to have lunch. You have to lock your computer. You have to, sign out, or you just lock it for that period of time just to step away from the monitor. So these are ways that it's important to show you that if any data leaks as a result of your carelessness, then you are going to be liable to that data breach. So at all times, and if this data is yours, maybe you have your research and you want ownership of your research, there are ways that you go through that ownership of that research to make sure that no one has access. So as a researcher, for example, even if you are writing any single line of research you're writing, any sentence you're writing, if it's not your idea, you have to properly reference it to give credit to the author of that paper. So you're not saying this is my work. So these are ways we try to avoid any form of conflict at all. If it's not your research, you're giving credit to the author, you're referencing appropriately in the right places. And if it's your research, also maybe you've published it somewhere, of course it is out there, your name is there on it, and you've published it without any conflict of interest, for example. And so that's been, because even those journal kind of bodies, I'll say, that accept papers for publications will have to go through like different processes to make sure that yes, this can be published. There's no any conflict of interest amongst the authors, and you're not copying someone else's work. Everything is fine, and then you publish it with your name, and so that's your own publication. So once it's cited by any other paper, you'll know that yes, my work has been cited. So, but if you're collecting someone else's data, you have to be 100% careful in protecting that data. You're going to use it for just that purpose that you've collected it. And if you're disposing the data, there are different ways to dispose the data, and so yes, I don't know if I've answered the question or if it's not.
Oh yes, very well. I just wanted you to touch on that, so it's not as though we just gave a general discussion around cybersecurity. So Jazakallah khairan once again. Thank you so much for the lecture. I know we still have one or two persons with questions, but unfortunately we have to round up now. So if you have questions, you could send to the host, who will then forward to Dr. Halima. I hope you'd be willing to answer one or two questions outside this platform. Thank you very much once again. And just as a reminder for the participants, for those who maybe did not join at the beginning of the lecture, please feel free to go to YouTube. This discussion has been recorded on YouTube, so you can always watch it anytime, and even previous lectures, so you don't miss out on important or interesting topics like this. Once again, thank you very much for attending this discussion. Until next month, when we have another interesting topic to discuss.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Nice to meet you all.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.
جزاك الله خيرا مجيدا.
وإياكم.